All right, good morning, everybody, and thank you all for being here for our May Community Coffee. My name is Samantha Taylor-Kai. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Audubon Area Community Services, and so once again, welcome, and we're happy to have you all here today. Just a couple of announcements. You've seen some upcoming events that are scrolling through our slideshow. You can actually have those sent right to your inbox if you sign up for our newsletter. If you're interested in doing that, you can sign up at the table up front with Miss Chastity, and she will get you on our list. So today's 1-minute highlight, we're going to have Dr. Stacy Ellis from the Greater Owensboro Leadership Institute give us a little overview on what she does.
Sure, 1 minute, all right. I haven't had my coffee yet. My name is Stacy Ellis, and I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Owensboro Leadership Institute. We're a nonprofit here in Owensboro and have been around for about 3 years now. And we were seeded from the ideal that we need more people stepping up, helping our community, working in a positive direction, and the Chamber Board of Directors and some other philanthropic partners came together, and GOLI, as we call it, was born. What we've worked on this last year is a big project with the Harwood Institute, and we have had nearly 100 community members come together to work in the areas of art, health, housing, homelessness, and youth. So you're going to hear from some of those people today. We're going to share what we've learned from our community, and we hope you'll get involved with us. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and so today's spotlight sponsor is Harwood Institute's youth team, and so today's speakers will be Amanda Owen and Dana Johnson, if you all would like to come up.
I'm Dana Johnson from the Hager Education Foundation. I'm a retired educator and was very interested in the Greater Owensboro Leadership Institute's Harwood project. Have most of you all heard about Harwood, the community conversations? So we started in August of 2024 with about, I believe, Stacey, it was about 80 members that came together, and we did identify the 4 areas that we thought we could start with in helping make Owensboro a better community. And those were the arts, the Go Youth, housing, and health. And so then you had a chance to decide if you wanted to join a group. And I'm a retired educator and working for the Hager Foundation. Youth was my interest. And so what we set out to do is to create community conversations with the youth of Owensboro and young professionals. And some of the groups that we've worked with so far are all of the area high schools. We've had an opportunity to talk to kids from representing the area high schools. We've also talked to some groups from Brescia, I believe Brescia and Kentucky Wesleyan. So our work is currently ongoing, and what we're here to do today is to share what we've learned so far about what the youth say are their aspirations and concerns for Owensboro. So we had 7 conversations so far, and over 70 individuals participated in those conversations. And today we're going to share what's called the public knowledge of what we've learned so far and some of the themes that we're seeing amongst the groups that we've talked to. And Amanda's going to lead that.
Good morning. So I'm Amanda with Puzzle Pieces. I was just telling Joe earlier, actually I met him in this room many years ago when the community coffee started. So it was nice to come back. I feel like I'm a little busy all the time, and I make that as an excuse not to get back here. But after being here today, I definitely want to make sure I stay connected and come back. So like Dana was talking about, we have went around and really just heard from the youth. And what I've learned through Harwood and listening to the youth conversations is that a lot of times their voice is not being represented. And so like if you see me do this, it's because I want to make sure I represent their voice in the right way, like making sure that what they said, that we're interpreting that and being able to deliver that message in the right way. And that's really what I've learned through Hardwood Conversations is we're not there as leaders to be able to say what is going on and what needs to be changed in the community. We're going to these conversations. And one of the other groups that we had that shared those concerns was parents. And we had a very diverse group of parents that we wanted to see if what they were talking about and what the youth were talking about, were they the same concerns? And so what we want to do as far as this public knowledge to you all is to bring to you all what kind of comes out as themes. Like after meeting with all of these groups and these 70 individuals, and one of the high schools that we went to was Emerson as well. And Dana was part of that, and that was an incredible conversation. So one of the things that keep coming out from all of these conversations, no matter where we went, was that students or the youth wants a unified, safe place together. And they want their voices to be heard. They want to be invited to where decisions are being made. And that is really what kind of came out of every single conversation is that we don't really know what's going on in Owensboro. We're not invited to be able to be around the table or to have conversations of where decisions are being made. And they really wanted their voices to be heard. So of that theme, it was just that gathering spot. And what I found to be kind of mesmerized by is when they were talking, when I was growing up, we talk about that. When I was growing up, it was always, you went to Davis County, you went to Catholic, you went to Owensboro, like everybody was divided by their schools. And really this common ground of what they want and that unified is more of a gathering spot where all people can come together, all no matter what high school they went to, no matter what, they wanted a unified voice within that and a unified place to get together. So that was really their aspirations of what kind of came out of what their desires are. And so when we look at what the aspirations are, what we try to look at is what are the major concerns within what they desire. And so we're going to kind of give you what came out of those conversations as some of their particular concerns or their barriers.
So something else that's important for you to remember is that these community conversations are based on 6 questions, and all 6 questions are used with every conversation because we want it to be valid. And we also, when we're leading, when we ask questions, we do not put our input in. We ask them for input, and we may say, could you reflect on that more? Could you give us more information about that? So every group had the same question, had the same questions during the conversations. So I think that's important to know because sometimes, things lead astray when you get into a conversation. So some of the specific concerns that the youth noted was a community disconnection between themselves and people in the community. They felt like a lot of times they didn't have a voice. They feel like they have limited transportation, and that was it was interesting for me to hear that because a lot of the West End kids that maybe wanted to go to the East End, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but a lot of the kids over in the West End said, I have to depend on either a bike or the bus. And if I take the bus takes about 2 hours to get to the other end of town. So limited transportation was a big concern with them. And then they felt like there were very few opportunities for the youth. Friday after 5 is something that they thought could maybe expand and offer more of a youth-oriented activity down there, but they said that's mainly for adults, and which it is. The thing that concerned me so much, and I was at the Owensboro High School conversation and at the Emerson Academy conversation, is that a lot of kids said we probably won't come back because we don't have anything to come back to. They wanted larger cities, or they wanted more experiences, or they wanted more diverse populations. And I think that, to me, especially being in education and investing so much of your time into kids, I want them to be here, and I want them to know how great Owensboro is. So it was very eye-opening for me to hear those things, and some of the things that they want to do. While we're doing this, I hope that you're hearing this, because we need your help. And I think right now we have about 12 on the youth committee. But if any of you, after you hear this conversation, if you feel like, yes, I want to be a part of this, please let us know, because we need all the help and support to help make this happen for our youth.
Yes.
On your 70 kids that were part of this, what was your age of population? Was it 15 and above, or did you take 70? Were there 10 kids that were 12 to 15 and 30 that were 16 to 18?
That's a great question. So just to reiterate, because I don't know if that caught on here, was the question is, what age group were we targeting in those conversations and those 70 individuals? For our Go Youth program, we looked at it being middle school and higher. So mainly targeting the high schools, only because some of the conversations, we needed to make sure that they were old enough that we didn't have to involve their guardian. And we're even struggling a little bit with that in some of the activities that we want to do with them, of being able to have guardian permission. But yes, it was just a few middle school students were involved in some of the conversations, but mainly it was all the 5 high schools and then the 2 colleges. So one of the things that another concern is going to be that their voices are overlooked. We kind of talked earlier about they mentioned not being part of where the decisions are being made. One of the other things that they said, it's really hard to trust leaders in our community due to the lack of follow-up or the lack of action being had, or if their voices, they can't be, they're not getting the affirmation that they need or the validation to see what they have voiced as a concern is actually being done. And so I think that's what we've tried to at the Hardwood in our group, is understanding of, we want them to know that we're here even saying this and sharing their voices now, because right now our students are struggling to trust where we're going in our community. And that's just due to we're not communicating and meeting them. They're being overlooked, or they feel as though they're being overlooked, because we're not meeting them where they're at for them to understand of how engaged. So they feel that they're not being respected because they think that adults think that they're just always on their phone. And honestly, what they said is they feel as though they engage in their phone because they're not engaged in another way. And so their phone is just like a subconscious decision just to pick it up and scroll. That's what we do. And so we're not where we think that we're all on Facebook. That kind of came up. We're probably all on Facebook, but these kids that we're talking to, they're not on Facebook. And so I think that's where, so when they're thinking that they're overlooked, and we are thinking, I think sometimes that we're trying or that we're getting the message out there, it's not that follow through with them. It's not that follow up or being able to communicate for them to feel heard. And so therefore they have lost trust in in a sense, the community system, if that makes sense.
A couple other questions.
Sure.
Did you look at the income level of kids?
We did, and we had a very diverse group, and that was our intention at every high school, because we wanted to make sure that all different aspects of income levels were represented.
Is there any way that the city or the county can develop an app where they can go and look at that and say, here's the activities that's going on?
Well, that is very interesting, because in the groups that I attended, that I helped out with, that was something that they talked about, because our age group uses Facebook and Instagram, and they use Instagram and they use TikTok, but they said we never, so if you put something on Facebook, They were like, we're never going to know about that. And so we did. That was something else, and I was getting ready to talk about that. No, with limited gathering spaces, because they don't have anywhere where they can meet. And then they started talking about, well, we did this here, and someone said, well, I had no idea that was going on. And so that, to me, is an obstacle that we definitely need help with, is finding a way to communicate and get that out so that they do know what's going on. I think there was a volleyball game and all the schools were invited, and they were talking about how great that would have been, because they all want to be together. They want to hear about, they want to meet kids from other high schools and who have common interests as they do. And the lack of common gathering spaces, they kept bringing up the mall. And the mall was a place where they could go and meet their friends from other spaces or other places. And they kept bringing, in a lot of the conversations, they brought up the mall. They brought up that there's parks, and the parks, sometimes they feel aren't safe. And, that's when I heard that's when I thought, gosh, it's such an important thing for city officials to hear that, so that we can help solve that problem.
There might be some interesting correlation where you can have youth organizations have something put on each month.
Yes.
And have the city and county place the mayor to watch them, so they know that's what's in the game and what's going on. I think it might be just
And something else that came up, especially with the diverse population that we had conversations with, it can't be expensive. It's something that we have to be able to afford to do. And a lot of the students even talked about the job opportunities, because now at 15 you can work, but the limited number of opportunities that they have, some of them can't do that due to transportation issues.
Yeah.
So.
And you may look at visiting some of your nonprofits and see what they have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the club, we do a lot of vocational training. We do buy some 3D printers and music studios and gaming stations. So to have that insight from your part to see what all nonprofits are doing versus kids would have an insight. That way you can communicate back to them, this is what's going on, and maybe in some of your nonprofits or businesses as well.
And that's why we're sharing this, because we need you.
Okay.
I mean, we do.
Talk a lot, so
No, we do, because there's just a few of us, there's 12 of us, and we do represent some aspects of nonprofits, but there's, we need a village. And,
If you don't care, I'll just say something really quick. Steve, you're right on, I'm part of their team too, and so you are right on point, and actually one of the things we've talked about is that we need to also loop in some of these youth organizations and have them, so we are on the same page.
Yeah, I don't think they're exposed to.
Yeah.
I think there's a gap for the ones that have and the ones that have not. A lot of the times, we serve a lot of the ones that have not, but the ones that have are not exposed to the services that we provide. So I think you're looking at two different groups of individuals in your whole population that you're trying to assess.
But the good news is we're already aligned.
Correct.
You're thinking the same way our team is thinking, and so that is one of the best steps or indicators for us to be able to move
I would
forward.
visit youth organizations,
Well,
so you have an understanding
We are
of what each of
planning,
those.
yep, we are planning on, that is
My
one of
bad.
our, no, that's one of our tasks, but
I
again,
thought
but that's where it's great
Yeah.
that we're so aligned.
Can we just do the presentation and have questions at the end?
Sure.
Because some of us have places we need to go.
So when we go back to the lack of gathering spaces, a comment was made by one student that said, when I don't have anything to do, I go in my room and I get on social media, and then 3 hours later, I've isolated myself and I've not interacted with anyone. And that to me was like, oh, that's not good. So a common gathering space is something that they want, and something we got to work on.
Okay, and the last theme that kind of came out in their concerns was over safety. I think what I found to be very interesting is when we were interviewing and having these same conversations with the parents, and it was crazy to hear that even if there was an activity that was available, they don't know that they would actually even allow their students to be able to go to that activity. So I think we could create all of these things, right? But if we're not looking at how does someone feel safe, not just the individual, not just the student and the youth, but how does those families feel safe enough that there is a unified gathering space to happen? And I think that is one of the things kids, the youth, and when we were talking to this very diverse group of individuals, what they're exposed to are just things that are way different than what you or I were exposed to in the life that they're having to live sometimes. And so I think we shelter a little bit because of the safety. So therefore, I think activities like the youth centers, and Steve gathering that and all of the nonprofits of what we offer, that is also going to be to a limited number. There's also memberships that have to happen. I think that, that is a safe place, but that's only going to be a limited amount of people that can actually go and do that in a structured way. I think one of the things that kind of kept coming up to in reference to safety is really the only thing that they can attend that they feel safe at would be like sports events for the schools. But again, they mentioned that is really expensive. Like I know when we were going to sporting events and taking my whole family, sometimes it's like, I'm glad my high school student is not going with me because I can save $10, right? And so I think that where they feel the safest of like a unified sports event for the school is also usually costs money unless it's a club that is offered after school. And then again, transportation is of issue. So I think what we're here to tell you is we're not trying to solve this. That is not the end goal. And as you all know, all of us are busy in this room. I think our goal for this public knowledge is to share what we are trying to go around and hear. If there's another group that you feel needs to be heard and represented, I know there was, we wanted to talk to a group of homeschool, those that have homeschooling as an option. We wanted to gather that they need to be represented. So if we've missed a group that we need to go and ask these exact same questions to, feel free. We have to note what that needs to look like. And then also we invite you to be part of this group to go and have these conversations so then that way you can share it, because our goal after today is it's kind of like throwing pebbles into the water. We're not looking for, we're going to open the mall and it's going to be a youth center. That's not what we're looking to do. We're not looking for this one big thing. We're looking for these really small actions that each of you all, after you leave today, can take. It's not a matter of we go and create this event and then this happens, or we go and make sure that they know that there's music studios, there's puzzle pieces, there's the Neblet Center, there's Boys and Girls Club. We know there's great things happening. What we need to see, and what I think I've gathered from this of like little actions that I plan to take, is I'm on a board. I create a board, right? Like at Puzzle Piece, I have a board. We don't have a youth voice on our board. So again, that's where decisions being made. Maybe they're passionate about what we're doing. So I guess the challenge in us being nonprofits a lot in this room, think about the community civic things that you're part of and look at that. And I challenge you to look at is there a youth represented in that group that you're in that board that you're on? That's one small pebble of an action that if we all did that, look at the diverse of them feeling heard and around the decision making, because it's sometimes that's what needs to be contagious, because if we throw little pebbles, they'll make bigger waves and a bigger impact. So it's not a matter of it's one unified and we're all pulling together to be part of the hardwood conversation to open the mall or to have a big event. It's about these small things that you can take home into your own. We talk about a sphere or hemisphere of people, like your circle of influence, what you do. How is youth involved in that? Because it's not going to be anything but just those small actions. actually, I don't know. I write a column in the newspaper, and today's column that came out, and it was perfect timing, is the one thing that I heard this entire time being part of this. And as you all know, I'm more of a disability advocate gal. Like that's my jam. But I'm really invested in my community because this is where I live and this is where I raise my children. And so I was not listening in the right way for them to feel heard, and I wasn't doing anything to validate what I was hearing. And so I really am challenging us as we leave is how are we listening, and what we're saying, are we trying to represent their voice for them without them? And so that's kind of like the challenge of we're not looking to have like these major big actions and you got to be part of the committee or this group to make change, because honestly, it's not with the big leader of Owensboro that's going to make that change. It's going to be within us to make those small actions of change. Sorry, I got off on a tangent.
And so what we've seen with hardwood work in other communities is exactly what Amanda said. It's not about the youth committee doing something. It's about you hearing and us sharing their aspirations and concerns. And maybe you'll think of something that you can do to help make Owensboro a greater community. Just to reiterate, the youth seek a common gathering space, and they do recognize that social media and their participation in social media is a barrier to them, but they feel like there's not anything that they can go to, so they depend on that, and that becomes a habit. And that the youth are open to development and change, and they want to have a voice. And the first thing that we're doing after we saw these common things is we're adding youth to our committee, our hardwood committee. And we hope that maybe you all that have boards may think about that as well. Do you have anything else? I think that's all that we just wanted to share that with you. Does anybody else have any questions? We do have a yellow piece of paper that if you're interested in becoming a part or wanting to know more, to please leave us your information, and we will have that and give that to Stacy to help us move forward. Thank you so much.
And thank you both for sharing all of that wonderful information. I think, so there are several teams. If you are interested in being involved in one of the hardwood teams, Dr. Stacy Ellis here is the perfect person for you to connect with. So there's youth and young professionals, housing and homelessness, health, and the arts. So if you are interested in any of those, please feel free to connect with her. Thank you both once again. That knowledge was fantastic. Our next community coffee is going to be June 26th, right here, same location. We'll have another great informative speaker. We don't know who that is yet, but will come shortly. And you all are welcome to stay and network. And if you all have any flyers for your businesses, please leave them on our table up front. So thank you all.